Hello, my name's Scott Davis and welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for July 6th to July 12th of 2014. Human design is a synthesis of four ancient wisdom systems as a bridge to understanding our potential to discover our path to making decisions that are correct for us as individuals. And those traditions are astrology, the I Ching, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and the Kabbalistic tree of life. So we're going to take a look at how these systems work together. We start by looking at the sun, the planets, the nodes, the moon, all on the wheel, much like we would in astrology, except instead of relating them to zodiological constellations or to each other by the angles that they make, we relate them to the hexagrams of the I Ching, which you can see these stacks of lines on the outside of the wheel. And then each one of those hexagrams is mapped to a specific location in the body graph. And on July 6th, we have the sun. It's in Cancer, but it's also in the 39th hexagram, and you can see the stack of lines right here, numbered from bottom to top, and the 39th hexagram goes yin, yin, yang, yin, yang, yin. And so this information represents that the body graph is the next stage in our evolution as human beings, from having 7 chakras to now having 9 centers. And this mutation occurred in 1781, coincidental to Herschel's discovery of the planet Uranus. The pathways between the centers are called channels and are from the Kabbalah. And these black strips of paper on the diagram are gates that are being activated by the sun, the planets, the nodes, regardless of whether they form a channel. I'm not following the moon in this demonstration because it moves very fast and activates 3 to 4 gates in a day, which would turn this into a several-hour presentation. So we start out, we've got the sun in the 39th hexagram, which is mapped to an energy mapped into an energy channel in a gate. So we have right here the 39th gate of the Provocateur, obstruction, the value of obstruction in provoking analysis, assessment, and revelation. It's located in the root center in an individual energy path in the knowing circuit called the Channel of Emoting, a design of moodiness that connects to the 55th gate of spirit abundance. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that has now become my primary tool that I use in providing readings. So we have the following activated gates on July 6th. We have the sun in the 39. We have the earth in the 38. We have the north node in the 32 and the south node in the 42. We have Mercury just newly direct here in the 12th. And Venus in the 35, and Mars is in the 57. Jupiter is in the 56. Saturn retrograde still in the first gate. Uranus in the 51. Neptune's retrograde in the 37. And Pluto is also retrograde in the 38. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com and clicking on the button that says Get Your Free Rave Chart and entering in your birth information. The neutrino forecast is really basically just a weather report. So no matter what the weather is, an individual's strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. And as Ra Uru Hu said has said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And the week begins with no channel definitions due to the transit field, as you can see. We're going to be looking at the sun's Ravi Ching line values daily, because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come through the sun. And as Ra said in Design Perspectives number 56 in his presentation titled Living with the Program with Ra Uru Hu, the lines of the day, when talking about these daily shifts in line values, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. If your strategy and authority does not lead you in that direction, though, just notice how the program may be affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. July 6th, we begin with the sun. It's in the 5th line of the 39th hexagram. The sun in the 39.5 is described as single-mindedness, the rare ability not to overcome but bypass obstacles, exalted the imagination to establish new patterns that make obstacles irrelevant, the imaginative energy to provoke through bypassing obstacles, detrimented simple hard-headedness, though less exalted, can often result in success and a greater support by its very determination. The energy to provoke through hard-headedness. And 5th line days are heretical. It's a day of suspicion, but also of universalization, where things can spread very rapidly like a virus, whether it's a YouTube video or a Facebook presentation or something like that. But there's also a great deal of suspicion and paranoia on the 5th line day, which can impact the nature of relationships. Projection and seduction are also 5th line themes. And then later on the 6th, the sun moves into the 6th line, so up here in the line of the role model, again, still 39th hexagram. This shift happens at 3:47 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All the times I'm going to give you are going to be Eastern Daylight Time in this presentation, so you want to convert that to your local time zone. And the sun in the 39.6 is the troubleshooter, the natural gift for solving problems. Exalted practicality and the ability to guide and nurture others, the energy to provoke others by attempting to solve their problems, detrimented ego dominance that generally abuses this gift for self-aggrandizement or personal ambition rather than for the benefit of others, the emotional drive to dominate that provokes others. And 6th line days are days Ra talks about don't get stuck with your head in the clouds because you're going to end up with something banging into your kneecaps. It's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around you, and because they're looking beyond what their immediate environment is. And so, like 3rd line days, certain dangers of not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming, and also on the 6th, Mars, moves out of the 57, and then it joins the north node here in the 32nd gate of continuity, duration. The only thing that endures is change, bringing an extraordinary and immature energy resource in the form of a store of vital information. So it's in its detriment in the 1st line of conservatism, detriment of the uncontrollable urge to bypass essentials, which inevitably leads to the disruption of continuity, the fear of a lack of potential, and the corresponding lack of attention. Ross spoke about Mars being an extraordinary and immature energy resource that lacks refinement and is subject to outbursts, and Mars represents the warrior archetype. So by following your strategy and authority, we slowly refine this energy of our design and personality Mars from immaturity to wisdom. And then on July 7th, the sun moves out of the 39 and into the 53. And with that, the Earth leaves the 38, but of course we still have Pluto there, and it moves into the 54. As you can see, as you can see, we are looking at two channels becoming defined, with a sacral center, a root center. A splenic center, a root center, and a sacral center. Jumping the gun there. All right. So the Earth is in the 54th gate of ambition, the Marian maiden. This shift happens at 3:23 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 53rd gate of beginnings, development as structured progression that is both steadfast and enduring. And the sun in the 53:1 is accumulation, exalted, the dissolution of old forms, but not at the expense of valued components that will be strained and transformed. The pressure to begin something new, not from scratch, but based on the foundation of the old. Detrimented development hampered by criticism, the tendency to withdraw rather than to make use of these experiences, the difficulty in starting something new because of the criticism that accompanied the old. And so now we're in a new hexagram. We're down in the lower trigram, and first, second, third lines are people tend to look inward. They're absorbed in their own process. The theme of the first line day is fear and anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a day to study, not to act, a day to look into things, not to jump. It's a good day to look at things you don't understand, can't make sense of, or simply don't know. So on the 7th, with the sun in the 53 connected to the south node in the 42, we have the channel of maturation, a design of balanced development until July 13th, which brings energy to be cautious about starting something new. Although I'm not sure how this would affect folks as a transit for people who have this in their birth chart, making a commitment must be followed to its conclusion. So I'd be careful about making a commitment because it's going to be very difficult to get out of it later. It's an energetic where that we may experience the same thing over and over and over again if we try to avoid it before completion, which could take 7 years. Actually, given that it's the south node in the 42, it could take over 9 years. This is a time that might feel like the movie Groundhog Day, with experiences repeating cycles that slowly bring us to a state of maturity and wisdom the wisdom that all life is a journey that never ends. We may all feel more deeply attuned to cycles of life for a few days, as we're more apt to notice planetary cycles or body cycles, historical cycles. And this also affects non-generator types, because with the defined sacral, people are more likely to feel busy and having an endurance for work. Just don't get used to it. And then with the Earth in the 54 connecting up to the North Node in the 32, this is the channel of transformation, a design of being driven until July 13th. Which brings tribal energy to support our drive to attain a distant goal. This channel definition is a projected channel and must wait for correct allies. This will influence us to transform raw energy into something that endures, to turn hard work into success. The themes of this definition are time, money, value, business, and bargaining. And as a conditioning force, I'd expect we might see people waiting to be recognized for their hard work through material success, or the not self probably isn't going to wait. It's probably going to let everybody know all the hard work they've done, so that it will hopefully get recognized. I suspect there'll be resistance to that. For those people who don't value their place in the community, they may become workaholics during this transit. The defined splenic center brings intuition and well-being. Ra did warn us non-splenic people that we may let go of something that is good for us during a transit that defines the splenic center. Also on the 7th, Venus moves out of the 35th hexagram and into the 45. In human design, Venus is very powerful, deeply misunderstood according to Ra. It brings morality, natural law, in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us. What disturbs you on a moral level? Well, your design and personality Venuses tell you about the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life. And if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in its retribution. Venus in the 45th gate of the Gatherer. Just get it to stay there. Gathering together the natural and genetically beneficial attraction of like forces. Venus in the 45-1 is canvassing, exalted, the ability to promote and develop gathering together through education of the uncommitted. The material direction lies in education, detrimented and overzealousness that turns canvassing into proselytization and tends to alienate rather than gather support. A drive for material that leads to aggressive education. On the 8th, the sun moves out of the investigative line into the second line, the hermit line of the 53rd hexagram. The shift happens at 2:59 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 53-2 is described as momentum. Success breeds success. Exalted, the projection of early success nurtures further achievement. The pressure to start something new based on past success. Detrimented, a tendency with early success to haste and imprudent action. The pressure based on success to be impatient for something new. And second line days, this is the natural, the hermit. People are waiting for something. They're waiting to be called. People get stuck in their own trip. It's not a great day to have a social gathering because nobody's going to really want to come. They'd rather stay at home. And then the 9th, the sun moves into the line of the martyr, the third line, again, of the 53rd hexagram, at 2:35 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is practicality. Exalted, it's in its most natural position, the concentration on avoiding conflict to ensure protection and continued development. The pressure to eliminate conflict in order to develop. Detrimented, the unconscious provoking of conflict that logically threatens security and development. Energy which provokes conflict and threatens development. And third line days are days to be careful on the road. Be careful of those swinging doors or swinging elbows, things in your environment. It might be a day when we have bonds made and broken. Third line days are about a trial and error process, and things bump into you. So it's a good material day. It might be a good day for business and work on the material plane, but you have to be careful because things can go wrong. But the purpose of things going wrong is for them to lead towards discovery. And then the 10th, the sun moves out of the lower trigram to the upper trigram when it enters the opportunist line, the fourth line of the 53rd hexagram, at 2:12 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where it's described as assuredness. Exalted, the ability to maintain the strength of one's individuality in complex and often awkward situations that ensured continued security and development. The pressure to maintain one's individuality in confused beginnings. Detrimented, the persistent difficulty with embarrassing and awkward situations where normal and emotional reactions may prove detrimental. The individual pressure for beginnings that creates awkward and sometimes embarrassing situations. And fourth line days, this represents that we moved out of the lower trigram into the upper trigram. We've gone from more of an inward perspective to a looking outward. Fourth line themes are friendship, companionship, of networking. Fourth line days are great for social interaction. And people are more open to networking and being friendly and social. And then on the 11th, the sun moves out of the opportunist into the heretical fifth line day of the 53rd hexagram at 1:48 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 53-5 is described as assertion, exalted, the underlying and often psychic recognition of intrinsic values of development that even in periods of isolation has the assertiveness to maintain direction. Its very power garners continued support even from those who are basically oppressed. The pressure to recognize the value of development and the energy for beginnings regardless of circumstances. Detrimented, and over assertiveness that rather than applied to maintain support in the face of opposition and isolation, may actually strengthen the opposing forces by its attitude, where energy for beginnings attracts the very forces that can abort them. Fifth line days are heretical, as I said before. It's day of suspicion, but also universalization. This is also, like I said, great deal of suspicion, paranoia. Just know that if they are out to get you, it's not paranoia. Because we're looking at the projection field, where the projection is positive then negative. People first will project and say, that person would be great, but if they don't do it, can't do it, for whatever reason, they don't meet that expectation, then they get punished for that. So again, we're also looking at seduction is also a fifth line a theme. So also on the 11th, Mercury moves from the 12th hexagram. Replacing Venus here. Mercury moves out of the 12th hexagram and it moves into the 15th. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. It's communication, it's expansion of human consciousness through communication, not just as words, but also as music, according to Ra. What do you need to communicate in life? Well, we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. And what might be communicated when Mercury is in the 15th? Well, maybe balance between extremes, because this is the gate of extremes. Modesty, the quality of behavior which expresses the power, the proper balance between extremes. Mercury in the 15-1 is duality, the ability to confront any change without expectations, exalted harmonic relationships which give support for the fulfillment of any task, the capacity of the self to confront through challenges through extreme and harmonic relationships. Detriment and alienation engendered through exaggerated claims, the capacity of the self to alienate others through extremes. And then on the 12th, the sun moves out of the line of the heretic into the role model, 6th line of the 53rd hexagram at 1:24 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 53-6 is phasing, exalted. The successful utilization of completion of a stage of development that its evident success and value can be used as an example to attract support for the next stage. The energy to attract support for beginnings based on the success of the past. Detrimented is a tendency in this position to hide success. Even the perverse fear that success will either create excessive demands or supporters of the original process will end their support upon completion. The pressure to hide beginnings and fear of losing past support. And like we said before, 6th line, we're on the roof of the hexagram. It's looking at what's coming up beyond. Ross says that we can get stuck with our head in the clouds and have stuff running into our shins. It's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around us in our immediate environment. And then also on the 12th, Venus moves from the 45th hexagram to the 12th hexagram. And in human design, we talked about Venus being powerful but deeply misunderstood. It's really about morality and natural law. So like we talked about, Venus can be unkind if you're not in the morality that comes along with your design and personality. Venus is, and how are you going to know if you're in that? Strategy and authority, always. Venus is in, of course, it comes in the first line because it's direct of the 12th hexagram. This is the 12th gate is the gate of caution, standstill, the quality of restraint, and the importance of meditation and inaction in confronting temptation. Venus is in the 12-1, the monk withdrawal that can only be maintained with communal support. exalted the beauty and harmony possible beyond the reach of temptation, the expression of social withdrawal and its value when supported by others. So this week we're finishing up moving through the hexagrams of the 15, the 52, the 39, and the 53, having the sun move through those gates. They're all associated with the Parvati God's head. So next week we're gonna explore the Egyptian God's head of Muat. Anyway, no matter what the energies that are conditioning you during the week, just remember this is experience of being a passenger that's riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. So enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every single day we have is a blessing, no matter what the dramas are that beckon to distract us. We're all just here giving the performance of a lifetime on the world stage. Just take some time out to observe the play, observe your movie, as well as act your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast should be available on July 13th. It will be for July 13th. It should be available on the 12th. When we're going to continue to look at the influence of these heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube. And I encourage you to share this information, whether it's videos or text, as widely as you choose. And I'm going to be discussing the transits of August 2014 and providing some short human design readings to the participants of the Earth Needs Rebel show on Truth Frequency Radio on Friday, August 1st. The show starts at 1. I come on at 1:30 to 3 Eastern Daylight Time. It's a great show. You can communicate through the chat space, or they'll call you for free anywhere on the planet if you want to actually come on the show and be able to interact verbally. As always, I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or you wish to schedule a reading. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I'd love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You're going to either need to be able to call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports available. I think the best way to make a donation is get a reading. That way you get something that's really can be helpful to you, and you're helping us keep these offerings available. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for all these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. Thanks, everybody. Bye.